call the meeting to order of the regular Board of Directors, Wednesday, July 1st. And I'll ask Director Flowen if you'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which
it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everybody. General Manager, determination of a quorum.
President Johnson, all directors are present.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, I'll take that from Flowen and Hund. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oh, we got.
We'll do a roll call on that one.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
President Johnson.
Aye.
Vice President Unger.
Aye.
Director Hund.
Yes.
Director Reynolds.
Aye.
Director Flowen.
Aye.
Okay. Public comment, and I'll defer here to Beverly if there's anything that's been in writing submitted before the meeting.
No, sir.
Approval
All right,
of agenda.
Pardon me?
Oh, did we approve
We
the
already
agenda?
did that, Rebecca.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. That was we just said aye for. Sorry.
Yeah.
Too many ayes. Consent calendar. Matters on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted upon a single motion without discussion. Any board member or member of the public may request that an item be removed from the consent calendar and acted on separately. Draft meetings from June 10th and the draft meetings from June 17th. And I'll entertain a motion. I looked at them. I didn't see anything, so I'll move on down the line. Director Reynolds?
Hey, excuse me, President Johnson. I noticed, I think it was on the top of page 4, there was one word that was incorrect, just a small correction. I'm sorry, I'm looking for the agenda right now. Yeah, when it says at the top of page 4, JBWD run the vehicles out past, should be PAST instead of PASSED. Other than that, I'm fully supportive of approval of the minutes. So both.
Rebecca,
meetings.
how did you miss that?
I don't know. I did.
Good shot, Gary. All right.
I'm Rebecca's backup.
Thank
There you go. Good
Thank
show.
I
you.
gotta turn off my mute. I gotta mute myself.
That'll be the general manager with the roll call vote.
Great. Director Flowen.
Aye.
Director Hund.
Aye.
Director Reynolds.
Aye.
Vice President Unger.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye. Okay. Item number 7, statutory and regulatory requirement for board adopted salary schedule. And I assume that is Susan or Ann?
Sarah.
That'll be Sarah.
Oh, okay.
Good evening,
Ronald.
board. I think you are all getting used to this coming to the board on a regular basis. We usually do it annually. We do it anytime we have union negotiations or any resolutions that are passed to adopt either a new job or a COLA. So this is just one of those housekeeping items that we need to take care of. This particular salary schedule includes the 2.5% cost of living increase that was approved by resolutions 191010 and 191012 for the MSC compensation and the MOU compensation from last year. Additionally, there are a couple of positions that have been added to the schedule that were in the budgets that were approved. So the first position that was added was the Director of Finance position, which will succeed the AGM controller position. The next position that was added to the schedule, I'm sorry, my computer just went blank. The next position that was added to the schedule was the Public Information Associate, which was approved and adopted in the budget to turn an independent contractor into an employment position. And then there's a position that's a safety coordinator position that should have been on the schedule. It's a budgeted position that the district has had for over 10 years, and it just never made its way onto the schedule. It's only 10 hours per month, so we did put that in there so that we are in compliance. Other than that, there are no changes. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right, I'll start with Director Hunt.
Sarah, I'm curious about the public information officer, when that transition is going to occur, or did I miss it? Did it already occur from contractor to employee?
It hasn't occurred yet. We still have to draft the job description, and we will have to fly it internally for a period of time for recruitment before we can fill it. It's the way our employee handbook and our MOU reads. We have to do that regular recruitment process.
Great, thank you. And yeah, I understand from my somewhat limited tenure in my new position that, you know, when you have a contractor that's working functionally as an employee, which I think our current PIO probably is starting to meet that criteria, hasn't met it, where the state of California at least encourages you to consider making them an employee. Am I getting that generally right?
Generally, so AB5 was enacted this year, which makes it really hard to hire independent contractors anymore. There's a ABC test that you have to go through, and if the person or the position doesn't meet the ABC test, all three criteria, then they cannot be considered an independent contractor. So the work would have to be brought in-house. It's an unfortunate situation for small districts and a lot of cities. They're running into this concern, and so we just want to make sure we're doing the right thing and bringing the work in-house the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think there's pros and cons to that. You know, that contracting situation could be abused, but on the other hand, sometimes for the contractor and for the employer, it's a good arrangement. So it feels like.
Oh, froze there, Gary.
Oh, sorry. I've just seen, it seems like sometimes, can you hear me?
Yes.
It seems like sometimes it can be a good arrangement for both the contractor and the employer, but on the other hand, I think there's some misuse of contractors sometimes, and so we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, where it seems like the state is trying to address the situations of abuse, but sometimes it's not abuse, it's actually a mutually beneficial situation.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. There's pros and cons.
Good answer.
Director Reynolds.
I have no questions. Comment. Welcome to California, and all the wonderful red tape that this state requires for us to do. And here we go. Let's get busy with it.
Director Flowen.
Not much. We have ramped up to this by already approving an MOU and already approving a budget, which includes all of this stuff. So this is, in my view, simply a housekeeping thing.
Is that it, Tom?
Yes, sir, that's it.
All right. Vice President Unger?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, and I have no comments, so I will entertain a motion then to adopt the salary schedule as it is for July 1. And do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
All right.
Tom, second.
Second. Got that, Beverly? General Manager?
Director Hund,
Aye.
Director Flowen,
Aye.
Vice President Unger,
Hi.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye. Item number 8, pandemic policies, recommend that the Board of Directors consider approving the attached revised pandemic policies. And I believe this is Sarah again. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, so we're back again. We brought this originally to the board in April. This has been a very fluid situation. So due to COVID-19, we're trying to work proactively to revise and implement new policies to ensure that employees and customers of the district are protected in the best way that we know how. The attached pandemic-related policies utilize guidance from CDC, the state and local health officers, along with input from employees, managers, and negotiations with the union. The policies are intended to help maintain a safe and healthy work environment. The policies are kind of divided into several different sections. The employee handbook will include a new section, will be the pandemic and communicable disease response section. They'll have 4 policies. The first policy will be the pandemic policy that you originally saw back in April, but we've expanded upon it. And that will be what will be the first policy in the new section. We'll also have a social distancing policy that is new, a pandemic workplace visitor policy, and a mail and package handling policy also new. So if you'd like to start, we can go through those first 4 and then circle back to the next section. We have 2 policies that go in 2 other sections, and then 3 policies that will be standalone.
What's the easiest way to do this? We'll just go director by director. Sarah?
I can go through these and then we can go director by director at the end, or you can start asking questions now if you're prepared, but I'm happy to go through them.
Any comments from anybody?
Not at this point.
All
Yeah,
right,
we
then
went
I
over
guess
this very thoroughly in the ad hoc committee for the pandemic response. And I think I can just put myself on mute and just listen.
Okay, I'm
Well,
happy to go through them.
So I have a couple things, but I can wait till after you go through them, if that would be the board's pleasure.
All right, Sarah, why don't you do that? I'll ditto what Vice President Unger said, that it was like the check registry at a finance meeting, and so we didn't miss much.
Okay, well, we'll get started. So if you go to, let's see, page 11 of your packet, I've divided the policies into 3 separate sections. They're highlighted in blue. So the first 4 policies are those pandemic and communicable disease response policies. The second section is a remote work policy and a workstation cleaning policy. And then the third section are COVID-specific policies. So if you look and see in the notes, you'll see that the first policy, back to the pandemic policy, it's revised. The changes are indicated in red. And then the 3 policies below that are new. And number 5 and 6 are also new, the remote workplace and the workstation cleaning policy. And then the COVID-specific policies have been revised. And then there's one that has not been edited at all. It's adopted the same way as it originally was, but I wanted to ensure that it stayed in the same packet. So we'll start with the next page of the packet, which is 12, and you can see all of the resources that were pulled from to develop these policies. So we've used lots of resources, including our law firm. In the pandemic policy, we made the change of pointing to CDC rather than World Health Organization. We've expanded upon the policy to add communicable disease in case that becomes an issue in the future. We're trying to be forward thinking so that we don't always have to come back when things change. So included a lot of other items that could become problems within the district if we did have an outbreak. Scrolling down to the Center of Disease Control, we took out the close contact affected areas definitions and just broadened it and let everybody know that we're going to point to the CDC, state or local health officers. They seem to be jockeying back and forth, so we want to make sure that we can use the one that's applicable to our district and for our area as needed. A little bit of cleanup on page 14 of the packet. Also in page 15, taking out the signs of illness, and that was expanded and broadened, mainly to help the district know what to do if these situations occur. It gives us a lot more thorough explanation, and the employees know what to expect if they report to work sick or if they become ill. It gives us just a really nice roadmap to be able to take care of folks if something does happen and if we have a positive or a potential exposure within the district. Let's see, and down to page 18 of the packet, we broadened the remote work and standby procedures, reminding our staff that we are disaster service workers first. Gives leeway for us to handle remote work situations in the event of these occurrences, a pandemic occurrence, and how to handle district issued equipment such as computers and cell phones, how to return those clean so that whoever's checking them in is not exposed to anything from that person's home. And then also giving people the ability to report any safety issues so that it can be addressed and we can look into it. So probably best if I stop here. We can talk about this policy first and then move into the next.
All right. Director Hund?
Yeah, so starting on page 13 of 32 under General Manager's duties, it says the General Manager shall ensure employees of the district follow recommended safety and health best management practices associated with illness, which is fine, but I just wondered if it should say recommended and required, or is it assumed that if it's recommended, that recommended is a broader category than required?
It's a great question, and it's a very easy edit. So we will follow what's required and what is best practice, as well. Talk about what is best practice. So I don't see that being a big issue to change.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And then on face coverings, and I went through this item more quickly than I would have liked to, so I might have missed something, but now the state of California is requiring wearing of face coverings, and in here it states, I think it's on page 21 of 32, but I might have it wrong. It might be 29 of 32, that visitors and employees are to wear face coverings if physical or adequate physical or social distancing cannot be maintained. And I'm just wondering if that contradicts the state health order, and if it might be good in here for us to say that we would comply with federal, state, and county orders applicable to our business.
If you look at the bottom, let's see, the bottom sentence of page 29, second paragraph, it says the district may modify face covering procedures based upon CDC, state, and local health officers' guidance. I did put that in there because when I wrote this, I knew it probably changed before we got here. So,
right.
And I expect it to change. We had changes that occurred today at noon. So
Right.
tried to use that as leeway so that we have the ability to make those changes as needed, because we're so fluid, it's almost impossible to write something and it still be relevant 5 minutes later.
Yeah, we're facing the same thing at the Land Trust, and I can really appreciate that, and I think that is great to have language like that. It does make me wonder if we should broaden that to may modify the district's policy based on updated CDC, state, and or local health officers' guidance. In other words, should we broaden that? Because I want to bring this up to the board, but also to staff, that because this is such a fluid situation, might we want to delegate to staff the ability to, modify policy based upon updated CDC, state, and or local health officers' guidance and directives? And then that way they wouldn't have to keep coming back to us every 5 minutes for when there are changes.
So in that sentence, you're saying to delegate instead of the district, you put the general manager may modify. Is that what you're proposing?
Well, I would suggest something somewhere, and maybe this would be the place under policy, the district may modify COVID-19 procedures, or however you'd want to say that, based on updated CDC COVID-19. Yeah, I guess it would be procedures, district procedures based on updated CDC, state and/or local health officers' guidance and directives. And then that would be a bit broader, because what happens is, you know, as we're seeing right now with a big spike in the number of cases in California, you know, they're repealing some of the things, sorry, I'm not coming up with the words right now, but, you know, some of the activities and you know, allowable activities and business practices based on phase 2 of California reopening are now being repealed because of the spike in cases. So they're pulling back on, you know, from the more liberal, you know, allowance of activities because of the, you know, the great increase in cases. So this is a very fluid situation, and, you know, giving you all the ability to make adjustments that are consistent with federal, state, and county directives seems like a prudent thing to do.
Maybe that could go in the COVID-19 specific policy language on page 28 of the packet. There could be a line in there that provides that ability. Because what changes we make now, I have to go back to the union and make any, you know, we have to have discussions, meet and confer on that. So that would be actually very beneficial and very beneficial to the employees too, because we can move things around a lot quicker.
So what I'm suggesting, board, then, in the place that Sarah is recommending, that we say something to the effect that the district, you know, in consultation with the union, if that needs to be there, can make changes to the COVID-19 policy consistent with federal, state, and county directives, health directives. You know, which means they're simply, you know, able to make changes based on what, you know, higher levels of government are mandating that that the water district and other entities do.
Can I comment on that part specifically? This is Tom Flowen.
Yes, please.
I'm looking at the employee handbook. On page 10, under departmental rules, policies, or procedures, there's a paragraph that says these personnel policies do not preclude the general manager or individual district departments from developing and administering supplemental departmental rules, policies, or procedures, as long as they do not conflict with these rules, other district resolutions, excuse me, and ordinances or existing laws. In other words, what I'm kind of getting at is that in the employee manual, we've already got some pretty solid descriptions of what the duties of the general manager are. And I'll leave it up to Sarah to decide how specific each component of this manual has to be relative to the duties of the general manager, which are almost all encompassing, as indicated on page 10 of 160 of this employee manual. Thank you.
Well, I think Tom, If you don't mind, President Johnson, I'll just respond to that. Let me know if you do. I think that gives that's sort of the foundation for what I'm saying, that provides for doing something like this. But it just seems to me that if, given how fluid this situation is, if there are changes to the federal, state, and local requirements for practices related to COVID-19, we should have something in here that says that the district can make those changes to its COVID-19 policy as long as they are consistent and or compliant with federal, state, and county mandates or directives. And then it just makes it crystal clear, and it allows our staff to adjust to this fluid situation and not have to come back to us each time there's a change in, for example, in California law.
Sarah, you say that you've already gone through this with the union, and I assume that the legal counsel has already had a look at this.
That is correct.
So I have Jeff. Is it appropriate at this time? It sounds to me like we're all saying the same thing, but I'm not quite sure with the legalese. Am I missing something, Jeff?
In terms of the modifications that you're discussing,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yes.
It seems like I was under the impression, and I thought, Director Florin was sort of close with what he was talking about, the general manager's duties, responsibilities, et cetera, was sort of encompassing, and this is an internal document, without having to go back to the union again. Are we still within the privy to incorporate or just roll on as we think we're covered now?
I mean, you have the employee manual that is already in place, and you also have, and I believe Director Hunt.
You muted
We
there,
lost you,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Can I read?
Okay, now I'm unmuted. I was using the space bar, and apparently that only works for so long. It must have a timer. You also, there was also reference to the policy that has the general manager duties in the communicable disease policy that I think also gives a great deal of discretion to the general manager to take action. I'm looking for the words right now. As such, the general manager, acting in the best interest of the district, shall take appropriate measures to ensure that employees remain healthy in order to maintain the district's continuity of operations. I do think there's a lot of flexibility there. We could certainly, if it is the will of the board, look at additional language to clarify that flexibility. But as Sarah mentioned, obviously that might take going back to the union just to run those changes by them to get them to include them in the policy. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Well, I think it did.
Can I add one more?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Again, on page 10, it's at the bottom. It says the district retains the full discretion to modify these policies at any time in accordance with the law. Any modifications involving a term or condition of employment are subject to the meeting consent process with designated representatives of the affected employee group. So what I'm trying to say is I'm just a little bit concerned that we're going to write stuff into some of these subsequent revisions that are going to abrogate other things that are already in the employee manual. And so one has to have in their own mind the contents of this 160-page document when they make these fine-tuning type things later on in these policies. And so I just want a clear and concise employee handbook, and not something that's overly legalese. Because this thing, even somewhere in here in the employee handbook, it says that this is essentially kind of a guide. It's not a legal document per se. Again, I defer to Sarah on how she wants to write this stuff, but something I've been thinking about. Thank you.
Yeah, and Sarah, you want to, I was just trying to see if we weren't backstepping and having to go back and see the union again and trying to move on. I thought that would be in the best interest of time.
Well, I appreciate Tom bringing that up. You know, in the land of COVID, it seems like that's the only thing my brain is thinking lately. So I appreciate you reminding and refreshing us that those clauses are already within the handbook and these policies are going to be wrapped into the handbook. So I think that we might be covered in what Gary was trying to help us with.
Yeah, and I appreciate the comments. I think Gary's there, but I think we're just sort of going back doing the same thing, if I heard Jeff correctly. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I just to clarify, what I'm trying to achieve here is staff's ability to make changes in response to changes in federal, state, and
I
county.
think they already have it. Yeah.
What's that?
I think they have it, is what I'm interpreting, and unless I'm missing something here, I think they have that prerogative already.
Well, that's what I was about to say, President Johnson. If they do, then let's let them do it and not have them bring it back to us every time.
Yeah.
You know, they.
Well,
they,
I will assure you that when Director Unger looked at this thing, I tell you, Gary, you're smiling, Rebecca. I see you, but it was excruciating. I'll tell you that.
Well, I just want to be clear that as a board, we're saying that, you know, we don't need to modify this COVID-19 policy to give them that discretion, that we believe they already have it. And
Yeah.
we want to.
Well, I think that's implied and it's written, so I think we're there.
Okay.
Yeah. Director
Okay.
Reynolds.
Okay, so the next time there's a change in state law regarding, say, the use of face coverings, we're going to let the staff just do what they need to do to comply with that law, including talking to the union if necessary, without coming back to us as a board to approve that change.
Yeah, I assume if this goes on the ad hoc committee, I don't know when that's going to terminate, but there would certainly be updates at the board meetings if indeed something changed.
That, to me, that would be perfect, President Johnson.
Okay.
You know, if
Okay.
there was a change to state requirements, you know, they could make that change and inform the ad hoc committee, and you could report out to us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you. I don't know where we are. I've sort of lost track here. Other directors' comments? Director Reynolds, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Any comments?
Just minor, dotting I's and crossing T's. I want to thank the ad hoc committee for working so hard on this. I see that you know that it's a well laid out plan. I think it'll be fine the way it's written. I had a question about it mentioned over and over about cloth face masks. And I didn't notice where it said anything about paper. I saw disposable face masks, and it's just a matter of curiosity. I know there are paper face masks. Is that included, or does it even matter?
I don't think it matters, and I think we put it in there that it says other face coverings, so disposable or other. The cloth ones, we just wanted to include instructions that people will properly clean them.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Other
than that, I'm all for it.
All right, and I'll defer back to Sarah. We are a little bit ahead or behind ourselves. I'm not sure.
Well, we finished off with the pandemic policy, so I'll just briefly run through the rest of them, and you guys can ask questions as you wish. So I am now going to be scrolling through the packet here. One moment. At the social distancing policy, that's going to be at page 21 of your packets, the brand new policy. And this is following the most recent CDC guidelines that hopefully haven't changed in the last 3 or 4 days. But essentially that, you know, we are going to try to remain 6 feet apart and avoid unnecessary travel, to not congregate in small areas, to take breaks and rest breaks away from crowds. You know, the same protocols that I think all of us have heard, you know, on the news or in most of your workplaces. So that is the social distancing policy. The visitor policy will include a couple of new processes. We'll have a daily questionnaire. So if we are bringing a visitor into the workplace, the questionnaire is to be sent out by the person bringing the visitor in the day before. There's 4 questions on the questionnaire that asks if the person has been sick, if they've been exposed, if they have a fever or any symptoms. If they answer no to all the questions, then they can be permitted to come in for their visit. This would be not including any delivery people. This is just regular visitors, contractors, maintenance folks that come into the district. They'll need to check in with the customer service staff or whoever is checking in anybody that day, and their name will be put on a list, and that will help us if there is a positive exposure. We can inform anybody that was in the facilities. That is the essence of visitor policy. And then we have the mail packaging policy, helping our staff to approach and retrieve mail in a safer way, making sure they're wearing gloves and face coverings and they're not eating or drinking while handling the mail, so they don't contaminate themselves or the mail pieces, and giving folks guidelines on outgoing packaging and timing of that. Those are the main policies that will begin in the new section of the employee handbook. I'll move on to the remote work policy. So in the pandemic policy, there's a remote work section. I don't want to confuse the two. The remote work section within the pandemic policy is to be used during those times of a pandemic. This remote work policy is for normal times, but could also overlap because somebody could be a remote worker during a pandemic. So this one's more broad and communicates to employees and to managers their responsibilities if somebody's assigned remote work. It provides information about how to handle, you know, equipment and tech support and their security, safety measures so that they are, you know, making sure they're working in a safe environment at home, and allows for some ad hoc arrangements if there was an arrangement that someone needed to work on a special project or work while they're on business travel. The next policy in our packet is the Workstation Common Area Cleaning Policy. And this is something we want to do in a pandemic, but also on a regular basis to make sure that we have a clean and healthy workplace, to make sure that, you know, break rooms and conference rooms and door handles and railings are regularly being cleaned, even in non-pandemic times. Encouraging employees to wipe down surfaces when they've used them in the break rooms or in their common work areas. And then back to the COVID specific policies. These are those standalone policies that we will sunset once this pandemic has ended. So in this first one on page 28 of the packet, we have taken out the definitions that we had previously because they have changed, and what we've done now just pointed to the CDC website so that we can get our definitions there when it is coming for close contact or affected areas or symptoms, because those seem to be changing day to day, so we want to use the most up-to-date information. The next policy is the face covering policy that will ebb and flow as we have changes from our local and state officials. There's information on how to clean those cloth masks. And then the last one has already been seen and board approved. These are the leaves and pay required by law but belong in that COVID-19 packet. And then we have the very last page, and this is just really for reference, but once all of these policies are adopted, they'll be distributed to all the staff, and then we will be providing training on all the policies and have a question and answer session. And then all staff will be required to agree and acknowledge that they've received the policies and understand them. And that is the end of the packet. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Right, I'll sort of go down the list here and start with Director Hund.
No further questions or comments?
All right, Director Reynolds,
I have no further questions either.
Director Flowen.
I was browsing my copy of the California Code of Regulations and noticed that it says on there that every employer shall, that's the mandatory word, shall establish, implement, and maintain an effective injury and illness prevention policy, program. The program shall be in writing and, well, I won't read the rest, but it also it indicates in here especially that we have to maintain these policies. And that's what we're doing today. We adopted one of these COVID policies some time ago, and it became necessary that the thing be maintained. It had to be modified and updated. And in so doing, this is going to become a part of the employee manual and handbook, and that then enlivens the employee handbook. And so this shows that we're not creating documents that just sit on shelves and nobody looks at them, that like they're some kind of a trophy shelf someplace that everybody can show off with, like in the attorney's office. No offense to Jeff. So my compliments to Sarah and anybody that helps her on all this stuff, which is probably almost everybody, in that we're being very proactive here. And it may come at some point in the future, and this is a speculation, that we could get there could be some cost recovery involved in all of stuff later on, where we could get some money from somebody to pay for what we're doing right now. So it's not out of the reports and studies part of the budget. And so this is part of the justification for possibly getting reimbursed for the expense of doing it. Thank you, Mr. President.
I like that line of thinking there, Director Flowen, that right down my alley.
I'm learning from you.
Director Vice President Unger.
Yeah, can I go back to the visitor questionnaire again? I know this kind of goes into like kind of the ad hoc committee report, Mark Band's report about how we're, fixing the lobby and all that kind of stuff. It's my understanding that visitor policy applies to everyone who does not normally spend their day inside that administrative office. It's definitely the directors who come in occasionally. Will now have to, once I think the trailer is set up and the work starts on the lobby, I think that's going to be the nexus for getting visitors in and through. I think instead of just us directors just dropping in, we'll need to call. There will be this document. It's very brief. There's 4 questions on it. Sign it, date it. But that applies to, I guess, even people from the field who don't normally spend their day inside the administrative offices. Is that correct? That's my understanding.
No, that's not correct. Anybody that's staff wouldn't fill this out because we know whose staff is who is working because of time cards, and we know if they're remote working or if they're working at the facilities because of the time cards. This is to make sure that we know who is in the facilities all the time that's other than staff.
And then, well, that's what I mean, because when you're talking about, well, staff then is, you're talking about the field crew as well?
Correct.
And how about the directors? Because we're not staff.
Yeah, because you're not there regularly. So this is anybody that's not there on a regular basis. We don't have a time card, a way to track as easily. So this would be something that we would implement and use up until, we kind of get beyond this thing.
And that would apply to the directors.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't think there was anything else, but yeah, this is our staff did an incredible job on this, and thank you, Jeff, for your help. As Sarah says, it's changing all the time. The requirements are changing all the time. We thought we could open up a little bit. No, we can't. California is having an alarming resurgence. San Bernardino County is now having to really dial back on you know, say, oh, people going into restaurants, museums. I know they just opened a library in Yucca Valley. That's probably going to close. And so it's really, it's a real moving thing. So I appreciate everyone's help on this and everyone's work on this. Really good job, everybody. Thank you so much.
I'd like to ditto that. We had the pleasure of going through this in the ad hoc committee, and I will assure the rest of the board that Director Unger spared little or no remorse for anyone if there was a misspelled word or a misunderstood or misplaced something. It was. Thank you to Sarah and Jeff. Sarah, any final comments on this?
No, thank you all for your patience and willingness to help us get through this and pushing us along so that we can continue to make the changes that are needed so that we can comply.
Yeah,
with
I think
what's
I'll
going
ditto
on.
what everybody else has said. I mean, this is fluid, it's moving, and I think, you know, our primary concern is just to be transparent with what we're doing and legally within the confines. So I appreciate all the sensitivity around that. And with that, so we're recommending for approval, and I'll turn this over to the general manager.
Perfect. Did we get a second, a motion, a second on that one?
Well, I didn't.
I don't have a first or a second.
I
Okay.
move that the board of directors approve the revised pandemic policies.
And I'll second that.
Perfect. President
So-
Johnson,
Aye.
Vice President Unger,
Aye.
Director Reynolds,
Aye.
Director Hund. Director Hund.
Aye.
Oh, there you go. And Director Paul.
Boy, they're getting weak. Got to move on. Item number 9, general manager's report.
Perfect. So an update on current COVID numbers for the state. There's 232,657 confirmed cases with 6,090 deaths, unfortunately. And going back to what Vice President Unger had touched on there, the state had 19 counties on what they called a community watch list, paying close attention to the numbers that were coming up on the number of confirmed cases. There was a recommendation to close some of these, and they're now actually closed, like Vice President Unger was saying. So restaurants, winery and tasting facilities, entertainment centers, movie theaters, zoo, museums, and card rooms all throughout California have to cease any indoor operation. So, and if it continues to rise, we can see, you know, based on Governor Newsom's press release today, that would continue to carry over close towards the beginning of the closing issues that we had if numbers continue to rise. So locally here, we've got 12,746 in this county of San Bernardino with 258 deaths. In Yucca Valley, going back to the Morongo Basin, we have 41 confirmed cases. 29 Palms got 14. Joshua Tree here locally, we've got 19 cases, and in Morongo Valley, there's 8 cases. 3 deaths total is what the county's website is saying for the Morongo Basin up here. So, and like was also mentioned, some of the directors may have seen our mobile mini that's placed out, the mobile office that's out there. As part of this, because customer service really doesn't have the ability to be social distance appropriately for their ingress and egress out of their office area there and where they seat. We're going to be moving them out into the mobile mini so that we could hopefully get open back up to the public as long as things don't move backwards on us here. And then we'll also be utilizing that time to perform our remodel to the customer service area. So we approached MKA Architecture Incorporated. These are the same folks that did the drawing for our initial remodel here for the finance department. And they've already provided us with some drawings that staff's looking over right now. And we'll have those comments hopefully finished up by next week, and we'll bring an initial floor plan over to the board to view at our next meeting. So moving forward with that as well. And Sarah, do you have time to go over our employee appreciation lunch that we
Yeah.
had with awards.
So something fun that we can talk about since everything's so serious. On the 23rd of June, we had our annual employee appreciation party via Zoom. We delivered meals to each employee that was able to participate, and we had lunch together. We had sent out a survey to staff, so all staff could choose their 5 people in 5 categories. And then we also had managers who were able to nominate their staff for their work. And it went over, I think, pretty well. It was not as fun as maybe our taco parties that we've had in the past, but you know, we were still able to appreciate them and let them know that even through this hard time, that you know that we still care. So and we had the employee nominated folks. We had the Macgyver Award, so the person that in the district that can fix anything, and that went to Dan Bach and out in the field. And we had the Above and Beyond Award. So remember, these are the ones that other staff nominated throughout the district on the survey. The Above and Beyond Award went to Lisa Thompson in our customer service department. Phenomenal leadership went to Brandon Warner, who's the lead in our SERP program. So we were excited about that. We did a Rookie of the Year award, and that went to Christina Friend, who is in our customer service and finance department. And then our excellence in humor went to Jeremiah Nazario in the field. So those were really fun. We were able to conjure up some gift cards for those folks. And then for the manager nominated employee appreciation, if you recall, we had a budget set aside for that. And we're finally getting to use it. So we were very excited. So the 5 employees that were nominated by their managers was Autumn Rich, who is in our finance department, for her excellent work. Gail Emery, who's in our billing department, also for her excellent work. Lisa Thompson in customer service for just being the most cheerful and easygoing person, always willing to go above and beyond. Brandon Warner for his leadership in the SERP program, and then Kenny Ware for coming in and helping fix field service and bringing our meter reading from taking about 2.5 weeks down to 2.5 days. So yep, very, very exciting. So we're happy that we could give these folks the recognition they deserve.
Excellent. Mark, I'd like to, well, I'll ask the directors if they have any comments. I'll start with Director Hund. Director Reynolds.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you so much for all the hard work you've done. This is a challenging time, and you know, it was anticipated to see this spike, and we're dealing with it, and we're moving forward. With that, let's keep our hopes and prayers and moving forward and keeping positive, and looking forward to getting back to the new normal.
All right. Director Hunt, are you there?
Yeah, I didn't have
I'm
much
sorry.
to say other than I would echo what.
Okay. I
Can you hear
apologize.
me?
This is, yeah, I apologize too on my end. This is like, I'll be glad when the meetings start. Director Flowen.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that we're doing an employee appreciation type of a thing. We did during normal times even had a barbecue one day, and where everybody got together. I thought that was really great. So all of this type of stuff, I think it helps bring everyone together, break down some barriers, and I just think it's great that we did this. I'll let it go there. Thank you.
All right. Vice President Unger.
Yeah, I attended the Mojave Water Agency meeting on June 25th, and it went pretty quickly. They had the real, you know, the kind of rote stuff to do, like approving their investment policy and that kind of stuff. But there was a couple of things that I thought were important. The board passed.
Did you move on to item 10 here? Because I'm still on 10 or 9.
Well, I'm on 10. Director reports on meetings
No,
attended,
I'm on
comments.
9. I'm on 9.
No, number 9 is general manager report.
Yeah, I know. I asked if there was any comments for the general manager.
Oh, then Gary started talking, and then you asked Tom and you asked Mike, so I thought you were on number 10.
No, I was gonna just say, I too wanted to say thanks to the staff, and it's good that they can have a little bit of a, celebration in the midst of this. Mark, any good words for the ratepayers in terms of water quality and services that are continuing through all this chaotic time?
Yeah, one of the last things that I had to mention on my list here as well was that the district's completed its consumer confidence report. That's actually available online. Our customers will actually get a message on that on their billing statement this month, directing them to go to our online link there. And we have several water quality reports throughout the years, but the 2019 is now available. And that basically provides a look at everything that's in our water, whether it's mandated or not. So it shows you the levels that are within there. So that's a good little note from another required state report that's out there where customers can view, how good the water quality is out here. In addition to that, even throughout this whole pandemic, we've continued to stay up on all essential services out there. So any type of leaks, any services that needed to get completed, any customer complaints or concerns, all of those items are still handled, ever since this emergency went down. So
Thank you. Thank
staff
you.
has done a great job of keeping up with that, and our managers have done a great job of making sure that our people are scheduled to be able to handle those services. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll move to item 10. And
I'm sorry. Could I ask Mark a question?
oh, okay. Public. I'm sorry.
Well, a couple things. I was delighted to hear the employees' recognition also. I wish I knew the employees better, but it gave me a glimpse of, how well they're doing there, even though we're not there. And it was fun. Anyway, it humanized it a little bit. I like it.
Nice.
And Mark, at the last meeting, I reported that a local resident customer had a noise complaint. I wondered if she ever got in touch with you, because I told her what you said was to get in touch with you and talk to you about it. Wonder if that happened. Do you recall?
I have not received any information from her yet. No.
Oh, all right. All right. Thank you.
Standing by though.
Okay. I might have information about that.
Oh, you do? Okay.
It was a generator noise, Jane?
Yes.
Yeah, the generator was on the main building because we had a power outage.
Right.
So once the generator's off, then the noise was gone.
Yeah, but I had asked if there was some way when it is on, if it could be muffled, because it was like 4:30 in the morning or something when it went on.
Well, I don't know about the answer to that question, but I know that we have to back up the power when it goes off, but I don't know about the noise.
Yeah, Mark did explain that. So, and I tried to explain it to her, but I was hoping they could communicate together. So, thank you.
All right, item number 10, directors' reports and meetings attended, comments, period, and future agenda items. And I will start with Kathleen if she's available. No public information.
Yeah, I've actually got a quick overview from her. So she wanted to talk about, today's actually Kathleen's birthday, so.
Oh,
taking the night
happy
off,
birthday,
so.
Kathleen.
Happy birthday to her. And so, first of all, she had the teardrop, of course, going digital this month. Customers will receive that either later this evening or tomorrow for the first time in a digital format. Our swamp cooler and evaporative cooler study is continuing to go underway. We've got 10 local customers that actually have a meter on their property monitoring their swamp cooler. And we're already collecting data for that and continue to work with UC Davis on that as well. So there's also meters placed in Yucca Valley, 29 Palms, Apple Valley, and Hesperia. So we should have a pretty good amount of data from this thing from different areas once it's completed. So. And then there's a virtual leak detection class. It's free to anyone in the Morongo Basin. We'll be hosting it through a free Zoom class on Thursday, July 30th from 10 to 11 a.m. Pre-register by July 28th is required. There's only 30 students allowed. There's an email which is Kathleen's, which anybody that's interested on this program can certainly get in touch with me and I'll send you that. And, or you can call 760-821-5716 to register with as well. And that's actually sponsored by a grant that we received via Mojave Water Agency and AWAC. So, and that's
All right.
That's it for Kathleen and I.
All right, Kathleen, thank you. Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors, June 25th, Vice President Unger.
That was me. And I think I started to say how they had a bunch of routine stuff on there. They went through it pretty quick because they did have 22 items on their closed session they wanted to get to. But they passed unanimously 7-0 to end immediately the property tax assessment for the Morongo Basin pipeline, or what's called Improvement District M. They've been planning this for a couple of years. They saw that there was enough money in a reserve for this account because the assessed values had risen on the properties that were being assessed, which is like us guys. And so they realized that they didn't have to assess, put anything on our property taxes anymore, that they had enough money reserved to make the final payment, which would be on September 1st, 2022. So that's one less thing you'll see on your property tax bill in November. It's good for the taxpayers, the board president Smitty noted, and Director Jim Ventura, he joined that. He said, I'm pleased to approve this on behalf of the Morongo Basin folks who have paid for it for many years, and 20 some years. And it took us many years to get our straw in 2014 before we had the recharge. And that took years to get. And Lance Eckhart, who was a Mojave's Director of Basin Management and Resource Planning for the past 19 years, he left that longtime post just recently to take the job as General Manager for the San Gorgonio Pass Water Agency. Yeah, that's where he went. Interim GM Kathy Kortner is a CFO. She observed that all the retirements and turnovers that she had been anticipating at Mojave were also taking place at other agencies, and that these other agencies were reaching into Mojave to fill those vacancies. I know.
Watch out.
And I'd just like to note too, our website, jbwd.com, as you scroll down, there's a whole section on coronavirus, and it's really very full. It's got all kinds of documents, print resources, responses, in Spanish and English. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff here. So I imagine at some point, you know, as those updates come in, I'm sure we update those as well. So we are definitely on top of it. This is a big deal for the entire basin. And happy 4th of July, everybody, wherever you spend it, however you spend it. And happy
All
holidays.
right. Thank you. Director Hund, comments?
I do not. Well, I'll just briefly say that I really appreciate also the continuing efforts of staff during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm kind of living in a parallel universe at the Mojave Desert Land Trust, and I know how much extra work goes into this on top of normal operations, and just the very constraints around COVID-19 modifications to work activities make it more difficult to complete the work that we did every day routinely in the past. So thank you all for hanging in there and keeping the Water District in good shape during this time.
All right, Director Reynolds.
Oh, well, thank you. I think I said enough for the night.
Okay, Director Flowen.
Well, with the salary schedule in mind, I would say that and the thing retention issue that was kind of touched upon here is that there is sort of a nexus between the retention of good people and salary that's paid. There's more to it, with job satisfaction than simply salary. The salary is an important component of stability in such a small shop as this one. Turnover is expensive also. And so if we can keep our pay schedules reasonable, considerate of the people that are low income in this area, there's a balance here, and keep our retention high, I think everybody will benefit from that. For a future agenda item, or minimally in the general manager's report, there's been this talk from time to time. Well, it gets mentioned occasionally about a pending $1 million grant. And I noticed in the Aqua newsletter, the most recent one that I took out of my mailbox, it was mentioned briefly in there that there's a pending $1 million grant coming to the Joshua Basin Water District. And I think it would be a good opportunity to give the who, what, why, when, where, how, and the restrictions that are going to be placed on how that money is spent, which would be responsible in at least the general manager's report, because this is a big deal. And I'd love to hear more of the story about that, when that's coming. I guess it's somewhat later. And what we're going to do. That's all. Thank you.
All right. I'd just like to say thanks to the staff. Hard work on the pandemic policy, keeping us abreast with all of that, and ensuring that the quality of the water is reliable, safe, and continuous, and that we're continually trying to stay ahead of the power curve. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll move to item 11, future director meetings and training opportunities. One of the most riveting meetings is going to be July 8th, and that'll be the Finance Committee meeting. Water Resources and Operations, I believe, is canceled. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Mojave Water Agency on July 9th, and that's Director Hund. And the
On my calendar.
I'm sorry, sir?
Oh, just on my calendar. I'll be
Okay,
there.
great. And the next board meeting is the 15th of July. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to, at this time, the board will go into closed session to consult with legal counsel pursuant to paragraph 2, subdivision D of the government code, potential litigation, one item. I assume I need a motion for this? Or
We should just be able to adjourn to closed session, right, Jeff?
Yeah, there's no motion needed to go into closed session.
all right, so then I just adjourn at this time, and I think what time I have is 7:38, and I will adjourn, and we will reconvene after a closed session.
And now,